Welcome, everybody. It's FMA discussion episode 241, and tonight we are featuring Guru Ace and Guru Kris, and I will be bringing them up right now. If you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button, and we're just getting started. Also, tonight we are, for the first time, we are running live on YouTube as well as my Facebook page, and we're going to see how that works out and all that. We're also incorporating a kind of a news outlet. So folks are watching. If you have something to share with us, whether it be a seminar, a recent promotion of your student, yourself, or anything, a raffle or fundraising event, please share with us. We will definitely broadcast it on here when we do our episodes. We at least run 2 times a week, sometimes 3. So let us know. We would be more than happy to do that. And without further ado, we are going to get started. And here we go. I'll be bringing them up. Hi, folks. How are you?
Hi, sir. How are you?
How are you doing, sir? Magandang gabi po.
Good, good. Welcome. Tonight, Brian wanted to join in, so we have Brian from all that. But I appreciate you guys coming on. This is our second time we're having a powered married couple coming on. So
very honored to be here, sir.
Yeah, same here, same here. So you guys, we got like, oh my gosh, there are already 18 people watching. So obviously you guys definitely did a great job of spreading the word and all that. So before we jump into the FMA, I just want to, what were your guys' martial arts background pre-FMA?
You want to go first?
Well, I'll go first. Okay. Pre-FMA. So back in 1990, I started off in Taekwondo. I was following my brother's footsteps. And I just caught the bug. I was just interested and intrigued about martial arts. Later on, I went into college. And while I was in college, I was studying abroad. I was actually studying in the Philippines. And I was actually looking for other martial arts. I was actually looking for FMA, but it's hard to find FMA in the Philippines because everything is in the backyard. So that was the kind of training.
Especially 1990 or so.
Yes. 95. I was in the Philippines, but I was introduced to judo, and I didn't know, but I ended up training with the Philippine team in judo, and they were pretty tough. So that's when I started getting a lot more appreciation with different other arts. Later on, I started dabbling into other arts. In 99, I'm not sure. That was when, and I've known my husband since 1990 as well. But he gets upset with me because I didn't train with him all this time from years ago. But in 99, I checked out his school. He was teaching Filipino martial arts also too as well. I just took a trial class, and that was the first exposure in Filipino martial arts. And that was pre-FMA, and then like other arts as well.
Right. Excellent. Yeah.
How about you, Guru Ace? What would you be pre-FMA?
Pre-FMA. So let me start by saying this June is a milestone for me because June is my birthday. So this June I'll be turning 50. It'll be my 40th anniversary in the martial arts, and then the same month, basically same week, 25-year anniversary for having the school. So I started in Taekwondo, but I had probably about 14 different masters, grandmasters in style of Korean martial arts, as far as that is concerned. So that has its own story of how I was able to start and progress throughout that. And then I was very much interested in the Kung Fu. The reason I actually did the Taekwondo is obviously it was the local school in my area, but I loved the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies, and that was my influence. So at some point, I went that whole route for Kung Fu as well. Several years of Japanese style, Okinawan style, Shotokan style of karate and Kyokushin as well. And went away to college, got a little bit of exposure through being the president of a Filipino club of my university. Well, actually, it was a college at the time. It's a university now, of Filipino martial arts through the cultural dance and then the Filipino martial arts. couldn't find an instructor at the particular time. When I got out of college, that's when I was able to get introduced to Filipino martial arts, went through a certain amount of training. But after that, that's when I got introduced into Muay Thai. So that was pre-FMA, but then I kind of dove headfirst into Muay Thai, became a little bit known as a Muay Thai stylist and coach, etc. during that particular time. And then found my way back into FMA because it was just calling to me. So
yeah. 40 years. Well, an advanced congratulations to you onto your 40-mark journey this June. Wow.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Brian, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I started out in Muay Thai too, so I see what you say about getting into that. But what made you what like stood out like for FMA though, besides like a cultural thing, like what you said there was a calling. Can you describe or elaborate what the calling like?
All right, so I'll go around. I had been involved in martial arts since I was a kid, and I was literally this might sound kind of weird. I was teaching adult classes since I was 13 by myself. So I was really inundated in that back end business side, growing a school, things of that nature. But you know, being a Filipino, my parents were like, "No, you're going to wind up doing something in medicine. You're going to wind up." So I detoured that a little bit, and I guess to be slightly defiant, at some point after college, I wound up working in the financial district in New York to be stockbroker, et cetera, et cetera. Thoroughly hit. By the way, I don't know if I should say this now, but the actual company that I was in was a little company that they made a movie about called Wolf of Wall Street. Right?
Wow.
Feel free to edit this later on. But at the end of the day, actually, not a lot of people know that, but that was an actual company. Now, I hated it so much. I felt so dirty being in that kind of a business. Yeah. And I actually didn't do anything bad. The environment was not healthy. My mindset was, what is the anti-establishment, commercial, money, things like that? And here's the ironic part. I was just like, Filipino martial arts. That's literally what I thought of, because I'm thinking, what is the most Miyagi backyard style that I can do that I'm not going to worry about commercialization, worry about numbers, worry about that. And somehow I found myself being drawn to it because, yes, culturally I was drawn to it, but I was like, I felt like that it wasn't tainted. At least in that particular, I don't know if that makes
it totally makes sense. Totally.
But I literally felt like if I wound up training after all these years in I'll use the word traditional martial arts, I felt like if I went there, I would personally feel very safe and say I could just be a student. I'm not going to worry about anything about exponential growth for the sake of it was personal for me.
Okay. No. Well said. I could definitely relate to what you were saying. So just for both of you, we kind of got your inspiration why you wanted to go in FMA. What was your first, each of you, what was your first FMA stop? When, who, and what style?
Well, when I finally reconnected with him and started training under him, it was Pananandata. So his instructor, Guro Amante Marinez, I was able to attend some seminars from him, but he was the one that was teaching me the Pananandata. Later on, I don't know if, because my name is Kris, I always just been intrigued with blades. I eventually met Tuan Apollo. They were in the Hall of Fame banquet together. Not together, but we met actually there. So he was doing his Muay Thai coaches program. Tuan Apollo was doing his Kali for Kids. And when I met Tuan Apollo, it was really cool. He had such a great energy. And
he's big energy for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And when I heard them speak together, it sounded like they were twins. They both had the same brain. I don't know if I said that, but they had the same verbiage. Even the curriculum, it just mirrored each other. And when I was talking to Tuan Apollo, I was like, oh, wow, you do this? He does the same thing, but in the same progression. So they had the same mindset. They'd be on the
from a Muay Thai standpoint, not
yes, in a Muay Thai standpoint, because I got more heavily into Muay Thai in the beginning with him until I started switching over to FMA. But mirroring or just marrying them two together with the Muay Thai and the Kali, it fit so well, and they just meshed so easily.
I'm gonna do the husband thing and say she forgot something.
I probably forgot something.
She did her introduction back in, I don't know, 1999 with me with FMA. She didn't technically start at that time. That was her introduction, but somewhere in the early, I don't know if it was 2002, 2003, 4. You're familiar with the Bakbakan organization.
Oh yeah, Ray Galan when he was in Nodai,
in
right?
theory, she wasn't training in Filipino martial arts, but she entered the Filipino martial arts tournament and won. And so therefore it was like kind of like, oh, I could actually do this. I could fight with the blade. I can fight with stick, et cetera, et cetera. And then that relaunched. So it was kind of interesting that the fight aspect of it drew her in. She did it with not as much of the FMA footwork, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just like, I think this is for me. I think that's, because I've heard her mention that story quite a bit. It felt natural. And what was interesting from my story was, as I was doing the Muay Thai, I was a curriculum director for a group called Fairtex. So under Alex Gone. And then when I started doing my training, they're just like, why does your Muay Thai look so different than the others? And what they didn't realize was it was all the Kali footwork. It was I hated blocking. I was just like, no, blocking hurts.
What do you mean? Shin on shins?
Well, it was shin on shin, but just thinking about all the stick fights and the knife, I was just like, why would I go in one time slot and say, block this as a beginner and go to a totally different time slot and tell the other person evade with footwork? Like it wasn't worth the struggle of trying to say, do this in one situation, do this in another. And it kind of just started engulfing like how we started teaching and training. So it's cool.
Your common saying is make them miss, make them pay.
Yeah. Well,
so that's
old boxing, right. Yeah. And Guru Ace, same question to you.
So back in New Jersey, I did get introduced. One of my close friends found a place over in Nutley, New Jersey. And in Nutley, New Jersey, I examined it. I was like, hey, I heard that there was Filipino martial arts. Went in there, understood the vibe. And I really wasn't that educated, if that makes any sense. I'm not the person to say what lineage. I just kind of went in there, trained quite a bit, and found out that style and system was Pananandata. And shortly after that, I wound up working with and training with Punong Guru Amante Marina Sr. as a backyard student. You know, I kind of like saying that I was probably one of the last of the old school and the backyard students, because at his house, he wound up moving away later on. So, you know, I remember the tree well because he would throw me against the tree, and learning how to break fall and acorns are on the ground, and seeing that, you know, rolling out didn't help as much, and things like that. So Amante Marina Sr., I give him so much credit into really introducing me into the culture, because his Tagalog was so deep, and his understanding on stories was so compelling to me. And, you know, being in the backyard, that's why it kind of, for me, it stayed in the backyard. But then when I wound up meeting, you know, Tohon Apollo, it's like something opened up where, for me, Filipino martial arts wasn't the supplement of the other base arts. I couldn't understand why FMA wasn't the base art and everything else was a supplement to that.
That's my opinion. No, I'm just Guru, Brian, you got anything you'd like to?
I just say I see this stuff. I don't really not familiar with the whole Kali system, so I'm not going to try to sit here and act like an expert. But I like the way that Tohon Apollo, he has like that tribalistic, cultural, like kind of teaching style I've seen like in some of his videos. Like even like his gym has like the tribal art and everything in there. So I could see like he really pays like homage to like the Philippines, brings that culture out. I see like in the students when I watch his videos. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just trying to being observation on it and checking it out. But seems like a really awesome person. Never met him before, but My question to you is when you met him at that event, was it kind of like it's seal the deal once you met him, like, or did you have to, you know, did you have to like, you know, did you have to go try it out in person, or you just kind of knew you vibed with him when you first met him, you vibed with him, and you're kind of like, yeah, you know, this is like the instructor, like I'm gonna follow this system now. He's like a really cool guy, like we're clicking, and
I'm sure she'll have a version. I might have a version,
have
and we'll have different versions. But sure.
we've heard of him. He's heard of us or him. But when we met, it just seemed like we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was when he met me, there's this like running joke where you kind of like give a bit of a blessing, which is like a Filipino.
Manopo.
To the elderly, he did that to me and called me tita, which means like older, like an aunt, like I'm older than him. But he made us laugh the whole entire time. And during the banquet, one of the when they were doing all the announcements for all of the awards, we're sitting at the table, and it was just filled with a whole bunch of all these martial arts experts, and our table is just enjoying, laughing hysterically the whole entire time, just enjoying the company that it just, we almost forgot where we were and when the awards were coming up because we had so much fun with each other. So that was my take of just enjoying his company.
I'm going to piggyback on that and pretty much just say, you know, your skill is your rank. Nobody was claiming who can do this, who can do that. What it really happened was we met each other, you know, on the floor. Actually, what happened was I was teaching on one side of the conference and he was teaching on the other side. And it's funny when you see Facebook reminders, we were in a lot of events together. It's just we were slotted kind of at the same time. But we would meet each other and just said, hey, there's a dinner tonight. And we were not supposed to be at the same table. And we were just like, we're going to crash. We're going to go in there. We're going to sit to the point where we felt so comfortable that we're sitting with our, like, we're sitting with our leg up on the chair. We're hanging out. We're talking
on the table.
And when you're at that level, you know that you can share more things with someone other than just a technique. And we always, that's the thing that I was saying, that I always wanted our community. Forget that if I teach and if I have students, if I'm going to be around other people, who better to let in to your community than someone that you have no problem breaking bread with, being able to speak. However, there was always that line, if that makes any sense, right? Because we always understand in that culture side. And to go one step back, I was very impressed with Punong Guro Amante Marinas because by trade, he was a professor of chemical engineering and physics in the Philippines. So he's the guy that's throwing knives in the backyard and not just throwing it and he's figuring out wind coefficient. He's finding out PM versus AM. And some people may not know this, but Tuhan Apollo is an engineer by trade too. So to be able to have somebody who can pull from their teachers and kind of create this Tetris reconfiguration in their mind and to be able to expel that, that speaks to me. I don't know about other people, but for me, because that's kind of my mindset as well. So to without him choosing that, I think, you know, his expertise is to be able to see who's in front of him and be able to give them the keys, not the way he wants it, but the way somebody can receive it, which I know many other instructors do that, but I want that next generation to understand it's not just do this because this is my favorite technique. It's more like this is what can work with me, my body, my age, et cetera, et cetera. And as we go older, that we really turn that key into a skeleton key so that now that can unlock so many other doors, not just the one door at that one time. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it's that comfortability factor. Like you meet somebody and you start talking, you know, and you kind of click with them. And you kind of feel that, you know, that you can relate to them and stuff like that. I think it's like even like with stuff like Guro Dean, like, you know, he instructs me on a lot of stuff. I got that connection with him where I can joke with them and openness, and I can still feel comfortable when he's teaching me. You know what I mean? So I think you have to have that before you even like pick an instructor out. And it seems like you guys have that instant like click with Tuhan Apollo. So that's pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed. So what led you guys? You guys kind of touched upon it already, as far as Tuhan Apollo. I guess what convinced both of you is that, you know, this was the place to go to. This is where you want to, you know, you want to stay. And really concentrate, dive in deep? You know, was it his charisma, his incredible organization? I mean, you know, or all the above?
Me first? Okay. Well, when I first saw my first exposure to him, when I saw him in the Atlantic City Hall at Tropicana, I saw his movements and it looked very familiar, and I was like, wow, that looks amazing. And we lost contact because we were busy doing our own thing with the Muay Thai at that time. But when we were able to reconnect with him, and the first time I did a seminar with him, I remember we were working on Blade, and it clicked so easily. It just seemed so natural. And being a female, 5 foot, and being able to have something in my hand as like an equalizer, because I'm not the tallest person, if you can tell. It was just something where it felt like it just seemed natural to just hold on to something to protect myself. But the way that he delivered it, and the way it just seemed so relatable, and the way that he progressed on how he communicated, and he likes talking about edutainment, where you educate and you entertain at the same time. It made it so much more fun to learn from him, and that's what stuck, was just his personality and all the details of what he was teaching. So that was my take from him.
I think for me, it was a lot of the conviction behind it. So as much as I was seeing him and during exhibitions and conferences and things like that, there were personal conversations that we had, and for decades, I was involved with pro amateur fighters, Muay Thai fighters, MMA fighters, things like that. We had a totally different name of our school for years. We were associated with big fight gyms and things like that. And one day he just said out of nowhere, he's just like, why aren't you doing Filipino martial arts as your main thing? Like he literally was, he didn't say, do what you want to do. And he was just like, he kind of just put me on that spot as a mentor, I think, should. And I had always had that mindset that Filipino martial arts was the thing that you do on the side of the main thing that you do in the martial arts school, right? It's that thing that's really late on Friday night or on a Sunday, or it's not the main dish, it's not the entree. And he kind of just put it out there. And I think it took me a minute before I took down every sign, changed my webs, and it's like, I'm a full-time Filipino Kali Academy. And then after a while, people are like, do you know there's not a lot of are you sure? There's not a lot. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. That's just noise to me. We're a full-time Filipino Kali Academy. If you're 3, I'm teaching it. If you're 10, I'm teaching it. If you're retired, I'm teaching it. That's what it is. And I won't get any better unless I make that my focus. Because if I make that as my side thing, my training is my side thing. If it's my main dish, everything else was an appetizer, and something else could be a dessert, but that's what I came to the table for. And if other people can see that, then maybe that's why they're coming to the table. And that's what they were waiting for to be able to get. And if that's any small thing that I can contribute in like my little area in New Jersey, then that kind of put me on a New Jersey. I'm not done with it. I just created a new chapter, but now that became my journey, because now I'm all in.
Wow. No, I mean, it's just, wow, we're already covered a half hour. I mean, it's great stuff. When I look at, obviously having him on, and just, I looked what he has as far as his website, his organization, his marketing. I mean, just incredible, like what he's doing and all that. Obviously he, in my opinion, has the utmost, probably best business model in FMA out there today. I just, by, virtue of the people I've interviewed, when I've been exposed to him, seen, and I mean, he's definitely got something special going there and all that. Why is this so successful, and why are you reaping the benefits from it?
You know how they say there's no secrets, right? Okay. We don't have a fancy mission statement, although we probably can create one, things like that. Whenever there's a decision made about something, there's always this reminder of, but how would I run my academy? It's not how I would run the organization, how would I run a global, how would I run it in my academy? So if there's an online student, somebody who goes to a seminar, no, that's a person who would have come in through the door. What would you have done in the very beginning? And the whole idea that there was a pandemic and then there was an online library, that was set way before all of that. Because what happens is when there was an examination of who's training with him, you'll always ask yourself, okay, that was so great to see Johnny. And we'll look at him like, I wonder when we're going to see him again. You wouldn't really think about that in your academy. You're just like, I'm going to see you at this time. It's kind of that predictive nature, and to be able to create something, which I'll use it in this instant. You come in to learn something new. When you're not with your teacher, that's when you rep, that's when you train. They're not there to watch you. That's like saying for Muay Thai, right? Your coach doesn't have to watch you do jumping rope. They don't have to watch you do that. That's the stuff that you just do on the side, because that's your discipline, that's your responsibility. So when he's saying, what do we need to do in the curriculum? What do we need to do as far as giving a resource? So I love the saying of, if you don't have the resources, become resourceful. So some of these things are not things that probably could have been done years ago, because to create a library, to create content was very expensive to be able to create. So as things started to become free, like a cell phone and having the ability of recording someone, I know I never really kept a notebook. I know I never recorded my training sessions. Amateur and professional athletes do. So at one point we're just like, how cool would that be to be able to have people have as a requirement to record some of their practices so that we can see them in between the live trainings, as opposed to, I can't wait to see him 6 months when I can show him. No, before they build up certain habits, whether they're good or bad, to be able to complement them or to be able to guide them prior to being there in person. Now, I'm thinking, why did we never do that for regular students? Why, because there's a regular student out there that said, I wish I had that training when I first started and I have video with them. I wish I had this video, not a testing, but just that one time he said something and it clicked. I wish I had something to memorialize that. So to be able to create that for any student, so that way we're not calling someone an online student and an external student, a remote student. They're just a student. They're not a coach from another country. They're a coach. So whatever we could possibly do in the academy is what we would, at our best, try and provide for somebody that is, part of the global organization, which is always impressive to say that, right? They're part of a global organization. No, they're this person. That's who they are to us. They're not that guy that we see once or twice a year at a ceremony, or hopefully not, because that's not the organization that I think he wants it to be, if that makes any sense. So
no, definitely.
So that's the secret of not having a secret is, if I trained with him every day at a school, how would he treat me? Can we do the exact same thing? The only thing we need is for people to show up. That's what it really comes down to. That's the difference between like having a name on the wall and being a part of a family, being a part of a tribe. Is I have a sign, but I don't know anyone. And I think for a lot of people, if they wanted to contact Juan Apollo, they could. It's not like he won't reply. So
he's always replied every time I've been in contact with him. So I could definitely speak on that. Brian, anything you want to add?
No, I was going to ask another question.
Okay. Guru Kris, anything you want to piggyback off what your husband said, as far as the...
I was actually thinking of when you mentioned online, that even before the pandemic happened, I remember them talking of discussions of, when, since he's in Maryland, we're in New Jersey, and he may not be able to travel back and forth, there's this possibility that we can get a TV and we can put in all, our seminars while one's running on another area. And we've had this, there's this TV actually right in front of us, this large TV that's been above us for years. And it was just to the point where they were already prepared for anything that would happen. So when the pandemic hit, it made the process even more smooth because they were already doing what they wanted to do already. And that was when they were able to build the organization even more, where it was spread over to China, Philippines, wherever. But it was just one of those things where they already were not going to get sucker punched by something that may have happened in the world and get ready for whatever happens. So I just appreciated that they had that same mindset of just getting ready for everything.
I mean, it's, I think he's the model as far as the future. I really do, based on, not to repeat myself, but people that I've had on. I mean, I've had plenty of people on, and very few, are doing as successful I think he is, and all that. So obviously he's got something going on that's pretty special. As far as before I get into your guys' website and all that and teaching, which there's great significance there, and I definitely want to get there. What about the system? Because I mean, for those, it's PTK and all that. What resonates with you guys as far as the system, PTK, and the way his methodology and the way he approaches it?
So I think if you were to read any article, any book, things like that about Filipino martial arts, you'll hear it's like the stick is the blade is the empty hand is the great. You'll hear that. And in my personal experience, sometimes I didn't necessarily. And listen, this is my exposure. I didn't always see it. It's something that's said, but I didn't always see it. It'll be like, and I still have people coming to me. They're like, I did stick, but I've never done blade, and that still confuses me because I'm like, at some point, that's more imagination than anything else like that. That's just like, how do I move my stick to make it like a blade? How do my blade to work in case I got taken down? So I think when I don't want to think of a label, when it comes down to that, I think I didn't choose Tuan Apollo because of the style or the system. I think the teacher was the teacher who happened to have a presentation, and later on you find out that style. So I think it's one of those things, and just to say, it's like, oh, we'll check out your website later. I think sometimes when you try and put too much information about that, assuming everybody gets it before they do. No, sometimes you just don't get it until you're in the middle of it and you say, hey, by the way, just want to let you know, that's this.
That's such a great point you just brought up. He's not selling the style. He's not selling, or he's selling himself. And in turn, when you come inside, everything else, the T's are going to get crossed, the I's are going to get dotted, and all that. He's got a very captivating personality. I mean, I've never met him. I could just tell via the interview and talking to him. I mean, so he's charismatic, and you could definitely see the attraction, so I could definitely see, the point where you're coming from on that,
There's a great thing that we were speaking one night, and the way he interpreted, again, I can't speak for him, but I've had conversations, and the terminology of saying, his interpretation of Pikit Tirsha Kali was the blade. So everything that we say is that's blade inspired. So you could say, here's this wrist escape, here's this empty hand attack, here's this scissor slash and thrust. But at the end of the day, it's just like, but how was that blade inspired? So to be always rooted into something allows us to be able to know, understand, and apply something, as opposed to the mentality. And you could have the same style, right? You could have two masters of the same style, but they present it differently. Sure. Can you blame the style, or is it, just whatever happened to be revealed?
Good point.
Our job is to be able to have certain things get revealed to us at certain times. But if we always have that same route to prove it, now it's not a matter of just trust what I say because I said it because I'm your teacher. It's more like, go make it yours now. Go make it high percentage now, or maybe it's not high percentage for you, but it could be high percentage for someone else. So therefore, it's not the drill, it's not the technique, because it'll be different for you the day that I turn 50 versus the time that I was 25. Versus the technique, I can't say, well, the drill, because I drilled it so much, now I'm great at it. It's just my eyes are different of when I see it or who I'm against. So therefore, at the very, very, very end, we're going to say, hey, by the way, that's piqué de tertia. That's also my interpretation. Listen, that judo throw was a judo throw before also. So we could only label it based upon who's showing it to us and who's introducing it to us as well.
Yeah, true. Like if you didn't have a previous background, I mean, like, you know, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, wow, just great stuff. I could just see from the way you guys are articulating, you know, obviously, you know, he's really instilled you guys, you know, well, you know, as far as what you guys are doing and, you know, how successful you guys are doing. And obviously it, you know, it's coming from above, you know what I mean? Brian, anything from you regarding this?
I see that the system is like really blade oriented. So is that something that that you guys like want to solely just focus on, or is it just like some stick stuff you have in there too as well?
Like I said, if everything's blade oriented, we could be on the ground and just be like, it doesn't mean I have to physically have the blade. It's just the blade points the way. Mm-hmm. So, you know, at the end of the day, how do you create something that's so massive in this multiverse of Kali systems and styles and things like that? And how do you create common denominators? Is that because if we have a thrust and slash, how many different things can we just drop down to a thrust and slash without the blade? So to be able to explain something, and I said this for a while when I was doing, you know, when I would train Muay Thai, how many times do you see a guy, they punch and their hand goes like this and goes like that? But the second they have like a blade and you're like, okay, do this, all of a sudden they don't drop their hand as much. So this becomes a prop. So when I'm teaching kids, I tell a lot of the parents, I go, hey, just to let you know, and they have no idea whether it's Kali, not Kali, then I go, we're using a wonderful device in these sticks, which are cultural items, as a prop to help enhance the ways that your child can visualize all of the different angles that only they can see right now.
How clever. Wow.
Right? And then when they come in, they're just like, huh. So to them, that's their cones, that's their ladders, that's their agility training. And as they go along, they're going to be like, that prop is really a cultural prop. And now now you drop the prop and now it's like, so where did this thing come from culturally? And all of a sudden you start to get things like, no, we walked around, there was a blade culture, right? You can go to an empty hand system and at some point they're going to say, there was a double knife hand block. Okay, so even then they were using the terminology of that. If you're boxing, don't they say blade your body?
They
so
sure
at one
do.
point, are those not blade inspired? You're just not harping on the fact that that was the true foundation. And all of a sudden now there could be a little bit of inspiration to it as opposed to, yeah, double knife hand block. What does that have to do with it? No, it came from somewhere. That Aki Jiu-Jitsu system in the samurai culture, even though that's Japanese, a lot of those things happen to come from a certain origin or a certain need. And Philippines is not any different because it was pretty commonplace at that point. Listen, I remember being really, really young and my dad using the word bolo. And I'm like, why are you talking about? And he's like showing me the shield that you have behind you. That's what I remember more about the Philippines. I was born in Manila, but I came here when I was very young. That's what I really think about when I think of Philippines, is seeing that shield that you have behind you. And I'm like,
I got one too.
That's a lot of blades.
Folks, just in case you want to know what he's talking about, right there.
It's like, why are the blades so small in the Philippines? They're like this big.
Soda Cambolos.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, spot on. Everything you're mentioning is, you know, it's so funny. When I started teaching kids way back in 2002, FMA, I wish I had the choice of words what you guys are just using, far as to get the parents to appreciate, you know, and all that, where I didn't. I just was like, this is what we're doing. We're changing everything. We're incorporating an FMA program. And because it wasn't my full-time gig and I wasn't relying on solely financially, I really didn't care, to be quite honest. I'm like, they're either going to like it, or they're going to leave. But I'm not saying that was the best business approach. I mean, hardly. But I can tell you right now, if I had your wording and your presentation, I'm sure I would have had less leave, you know?
You know, at the end of the day, I don't ever want my academy to be a school that I wouldn't join. So when you talk to someone, you're really not talking to anyone other than yourself. Let's just be honest about it, right? If you're fighting, it's how quickly can you be able to figure the other person out. So when we're talking to someone and they're bringing, let's say, a child or somebody who's a senior, how amazing is it to be able to tell someone that the qualities of Kali, and to be able to have the left side and right side of brain, and to be able to take on a way of describing your program and your course. Because all you're doing is, instead of saying my style is, you're saying my program is, correct? So if you're saying one of the reasons that now you just say, when you find out what somebody is lacking, because I think a good 30% or so of our students are people who have trained somewhere else first, right? They're a first degree, second degree instructor. They did something else first.
I think that's fair.
People who are watching this can comment and who teach the same thing, right? Those students did another martial art, but felt compelled to do this next. And maybe it's because there's something about that art, the Filipino martial arts, that filled the void that their other art had. And if people knew more about what that is, then they would also seek that so much more than, hey, guess what? I learned a drill in my black belt club.
Yeah, right.
This is the thing that really could encompass something. I remember teaching, in the 90s, and I had a bunch of Hapkido black belts coming to me. Actually, I don't even think they were black belt, but some were black belt somewhere. And they said their instructor said to get the next rank, they had to learn a weapon. But they weren't even learning the weapon within that. They were like, go find something that teaches a weapon. And there was a short list of things to look for. And of course, it was just like, I guess I got to find an FMA school if I want to do something like that.
Wow. The teacher would do that. You know what I mean? That's the first time I ever heard that. Hey, go
out there. Well,
I
mean, there's a plus and minus to that, right? It was either the instructor was to learn it themselves to be able to share it, or they're just like, I got nothing for you, go find it. But at least they were open-minded enough to be able to say, to make this more complete at your level, I think you need this in your arsenal.
Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword.
That's a very secure instructor.
That's what I mean. It's like a double-edged sword. I'm like telling you to go seek something that I can't give you, knowing that I might lose you. But on the other hand, it's like I'm going to empower you and give you the freedom to go out there. So I think it's admirable.
Think about how MMA was, right? There was a kickboxing coach that couldn't do anything for grappling, so they had to go somewhere else for that.
Right. So
and then vice versa.
Yeah. Right.
And then at some point, these coaches got together and just be like, I think we should probably.
Hey, I think we should form a camp.
Yeah. Your peanuts in my chocolate, my chocolate's in your peanut butter, right? So.
What say you, Guru Kris? If you need me to say the question again, I can. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
So basically, what I was asking him is that it was kind of compounded in the fact that it was multi-layered, so to speak. But essentially, I was asking him, why, his form of PTK. What about it? What really resonated with you guys? What made you guys so successful as far as the watering down of what he's instilled you guys, not just as students, and also in the professional sense, and how to run a school and affiliate, whatever it's deemed,
what I liked about it was everything seemed so relatable. So even going back to, let's just say when Philippines was conquered years ago by the Spaniards, and we were not allowed to have any weapons. We didn't have any. We were confiscated with all of our belongings, and all we had was just a rattan to defend ourselves. When he was explaining, when you pick up a stick, it's not just you just using a stick. So when you pick up that stick, wherever your second knuckles are, that's actually technically where the blade would actually be. So as soon as they would be able to fight who we were being conquered by and get a hold of the blade, they were using the same exact thing. So when you hold on to the stick, when you hold on to the blade, it's the same exact thing. But if you drop your weapon and you have nothing in your empty hand, the same concept is you'd still move in the same exact thing. So it just made me realize, like, I don't have to have a stick. I don't have to have a blade. I can use empty hand. It could also relate even back on grappling. So for years ago, I used to train with him with the Muay Thai and as well as the combat submission wrestling. The grappling portion was similar with just the blade. So even when we're on the ground, our movement is still bladed. And it's not about having the blade. It's just the application to it. And when he would teach it over and over again, it would just be mind-blowing. Oh, this is how you do it with sticks. This is how you do it with one stick. This is how you do it with a blade. This is how you do it empty hand. And it would be all the same thing. It was so relatable that it just made it more and more fun. Plus, I wasn't using my power, my speed, or my strength because I'm not that big or that tall, but I was using more of my leverage, my technique, and my timing with it. So it made me feel more comfortable that I don't have to be this big person to be able to defend myself. I just need to know the proper techniques, use my timing of it, and using the leverage of it, and focusing on the technicality and the little details that makes a big difference. And he's very detail-oriented, same as my husband. They're both very detail-oriented. That made things easier to just grasp and understand the art even more. And he focuses a lot on uplifting the art, not tearing it down. We want to help each other up and make this more well-known because not many people know what Kali is.
No, I definitely see his uplifting personality and how that bleeds over into the community. Like, we're stronger together as opposed to like, well, this system does this and this system doesn't address this. And if you do this system, I mean, clearly that model's not working to bring FMA into the forefront. If the evidence has not been seen of that already, I'm not sure what it's going to take for that to be seen. You know, but yeah, I totally agree. Everything you guys are saying, I think is absolutely wonderful and refreshing on so many levels. Brian, anything you wanted to jump in on?
No, I think you guys already answered all the stuff I had already. You stole my thunder already. Thanks.
After that?
I'll sit here quietly and observe.
We're going to call him Thor from now on.
Jump in. All right. Next thing I wanted to do is, you know, it's funny. Before I always do an interview, I always go to the website. I go there for a multitude of reasons. One, to get a better idea who I'm interviewing. Two, information purposes, years, stuff like that. Things I can draw an outline from or a series of questions. And your guys' website, a couple things stood out. Number one, if I didn't know you guys did PTK, I would have had no idea what FMA system you did. Number two, I didn't see any bios. It wasn't concentrated on you guys. The concentration seemed to be steered towards like what you guys do and all that. And of course, you know, the programs that you offered, but it was very unique. And that's something that I definitely stood out. And particularly in those two things. One, lack of bios. And two, again, not really descriptive as far as what systems you were pulling from with regards to the curriculum. Was that with intention?
100%. I had a ton of web people. I had a bunch of web people yell at me and be like, "Hey, this is not how the industry does it. You got to show your whole schedule. You got to do this. You got to show that." And I go,
"He goes against the grain."
You know, if someone saw a photo of me, maybe they wouldn't join. Who knows, right? Right? I pride myself. I am going to say this. I pride myself that if somebody left their name or emailed me this and that, I will contact that person. Right? It is not a digital. If there's anyone like watching this and can add something to that or confirm this, please do. If I get a call from or a message from somebody, "Hey, I was interested in martial art," I'm going to contact that person. Yeah. I am not going to say, By the way, did you know how long I've been training?
Like selling your whole bio.
Do you know how much I can bench?
Yeah.
Do you know
no, I know. It can be a turnoff.
I wouldn't say that. I would say, what is it exactly that you're looking for? If there's any benefit that we could provide that's in alignment with what you're looking for, why don't you come down and we could be able to show you that? Because otherwise, I don't think I've ever had a real business card. I've had a bunch of people design them for me. I don't think I've ever had them printed to be able to hand them to someone, right? I'm not there to create a brochure. I'm not trying to con someone to come in and if they found us, right? They found us because of certain things that may have piqued their interest. But we have to confirm all of that by the time they either speak to us on the phone, because we've all spoken to someone on the phone, be like, I don't trust that guy, right? Or they come in person, they're like, you know what? The guy on the website that has those years of experience, he's not even here. He's not even going to teach my class.
Yeah, who's designed the web? Good point. Like, right, he doesn't probably even like really understand like what you're doing. You know?
Sure. And there's a great chance that some people who are genuinely looking for self-defense, martial arts training, this and that, have no idea who my teachers are. They don't care if I'm Filipino, and they don't. It's how can we help them?
No,
that's got to be.
It's fascinating. I remember because I've seen a ton of websites now doing these interviews, and I'm thinking like, wow, there's no bio. Wow, they're not even itemizing like what styles they teach, and it immediately stood out. And then it drew like, wow, was this with intention? I mean, was this deliberate? Before we jump into Kris and Brian, did Tuhan Apollo also kind of steer you that way, or suggestive in nature, or this was kind of just on your own?
I think we always looked at it as, the way we're going to do the one site, the other site will look the same. But if you were to ask him, be like, can you show me all your certificates and this and that? He'd rather be like, so are you hungry? You want something to eat? The subject would change so fast, right? A little bit off topic. It was just like, recently, I think every certificate, award, things like we ever had, we had recently brought it to my parents' house and things like that. And we had this thing called Ida, and there was 4 feet of flooding in the whole place. So every literal thing that we could, videotapes, things like that, it was all destroyed. That doesn't change what we would have taught. That doesn't change, right? The things on the wall. And I remember right before I opened up my first school, I was speaking to someone and he said, well, you got to have all your trophies out. And I think people, and this was not a Filipino martial artist. And I had such a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, if I had to bring someone in here and get them in here because how many trophies and medals were on the wall, which maybe a lot of them would be dusty, right? That medal that somebody got was from 20 years ago. It's not what happened today. I go, then why am I teaching? Because that's somebody else's achievement. They're coming in for their own personal.
Yeah, and you're showcasing in a window that somebody else got. Yeah. It's just, I'm obviously agree with you on that.
I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm just saying, if you still look around my facility, there are no trophies and medals. And the reason they were in the basement to begin with and not here and got flooded is because if I taught a bad class, who cares what degree I was?
Your skill is your rank.
Or how many trophies you got in the window, right? Yeah. No, good point. Brian, anything?
I think she said that the teaching speaks for itself. All the awards and everything are secondary. When someone sees you move and sees how you instructs, and I think that's all that needs to be said. And all things on the wall are secondary.
That's a good point. Can't argue that. I mean, right? How do you interact with people? It's funny. It's like I had this way back, just kind of a little story that kind of coincides with what you guys are saying. So I got this young at the time, she was 16, very mature for her age, and she goes, so she came in, and just the interaction, I'm like, this is a gold mine. I'm like, so I want you to teach. She goes, well, I've never, I don't know martial arts. I'm like, I'll take care of that. The fact that you're good with people and you're good with kids, I go, that's the start. We'll get you acclimated. I'll get you caught up to speed. But the fact that you can resonate with parents and you can teach kids and they see that maturity in you and all that, everything else will fall into place. And boy, it was like one of the best decisions I made. But if I went with like the status quo, well, she's not ready. She doesn't have anything under her. She doesn't have a bell, this and that. But if you're good with kids, you know what? Everything else falls into place. That's my opinion. So.
Customer service skills or professionalism is what keeps longevity, is what keeps these schools and business.
100%.
It's customer service, people skills, being able to relate to the students, to the parents, to be able to be professional, not an attitude, finding what the needs are, serving the needs, and that's what keeps a lot of these good schools like your school in business, is the professionalism. And I can already see it. Just, I never set one foot in your school, obviously, but I mean, I could see just by the professionalism right now during the interview, that's what keeps you guys the longevity, in the business. So, hats off to you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
You're welcome anytime here as well.
Yeah, I'm coming to.
You don't want me there.
I'm gonna be heading down that way. I got a couple of people here, but Guru Kris, what say you on the recent conversation?
Well, I was actually, I'm sorry if I'm not answering the question, but it was more like my mindset was thinking of, if I were to see him, what his motto would be, it would be, how can I help? So every time I hear his conversations with someone over the phone, or if there's a new person that's coming in that he's going to talk to, it's not about, hey, look, this is what we do. This is who we are. This is our bio. It's more like, how can we serve you? What can I do to better your lifestyle, or in any shape or form? And it's a great role model with all the other assistants and leaders in our school, that we pass it on and we make sure that it's not about us. There's a higher purpose, is to be able to help one another, to serve one another, and again, to uplift the art. It doesn't matter what art you're doing, but it's at the same reason of, we're just trying to help each other out as much as possible, regardless. And as far as when we were talking about the trophies and whatnot, I usually tell the students, the trophy's not going to save you when you're out there and someone's trying to attack you. Your belt is not going to hold you up. It really is, your rank is your skill. And I hear that over and over and over again. So that's what I hear. And I thank Tuan Apollo and my husband as well, and just being such great role models of just helping me to become more of how to express myself as a martial artist.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's, again, that whole model that he's come up with, and it's absolutely a fantastic one. And again, I think he is the cornerstone of success as far as how others could benefit from it, incorporate it, and all that, which kind of leads to my next thing is, one of the things I've always pondered on is like, and I'm not saying I have a right or wrong answer here, it's just something I often think about, and a lot of it's come up from these interviews, and my question to you guys is, do you think, based whether on his model or and all that, let's use that, based on his model, do you think if it was just FMA, his model would be just as successful if he didn't have another art to kind of conjoin it with? And the reason I'm asking this is, when I look back to when I incorporated FMA for the kids and all that, again, this is circa 2003, I already had an existing program going on. And I got to be honest, with what I had available to me as far as tools, marketing, and all that, I don't know if I would have been successful. It turned out that it became the most popular module within our school. The kids loved it, action flex, the sticks, and all that. But because I had something existing, it was easy to incorporate and draw success from it. Had I not, I'm not so sure I would have been able to. What is your guys' opinion on that, you know, using his model. Do you think it's necessary to have an existing program, whether it be traditional arts or whatever?
Not at all. Not at all.
Sure.
If anything, having the existing one is what sways someone from not making that commitment over.
Okay.
Again, I could have had the crutch of, I'm the Muay Thai guy. Oh, by the way, I have this other thing too, right? So if I'm on the website, guess what? I'm wearing Thai shorts. It's no different when you talking marketing now. Someone would say, oh, you know what? I have so many kids. I don't know why I don't have adults. And you go to the website, I'm like, there's not one picture of an adult. Everything's a birthday party. And you're like, but you're asking me, why don't I have more adults? So if the question is, why don't I have more Filipino martial arts? Well, what is it about Filipino martial arts to the instructor? What is that's different than your other thing? And I don't know, maybe you could answer that, Guro Dane. Just like, what is it that was different than the other thing that your FMA was? I could probably jump on that for a minute.
I think for me, my experience back then when I implemented again around the 2 3, I think because it was so different, so new, and I think there was a natural instinct for kids to love to hit or attempt to swing something and all that, and the different movements in their body and all that. So I think it was a combination of different things. One being very new, very different. One, just the fact that they were able to hold something, swing it, empowerment. You know,
that you could describe every new program that's out there. You say, hey, we have a program that's brand new, that's different, and it's exciting. And then just, you want to call that Zumba?
Yeah, get back to you, man. If I had your word,
you literally, right? Like if I were to like be a designer of that and just be like, hey, what is it about the thing from years ago that you thought was really popular, but are you actually saying that now? If it was new and exciting and it's fun, and I have something in my hand that will help me visualize and do all those other things, how is that not your marketing?
No, I totally agree with you.
But the issue was years ago, let's call it the 80s or 90s, Taekwondo didn't even want to call it Taekwondo. They called it Korean karate.
Really? Okay.
Right? Because literally, if you didn't know what Taekwondo was, people knew what karate was. Correct. So how do you get people to know what Taekwondo is? Well, let me use the word karate in it. Right?
Interesting.
Right? Brian, Muay Thai, or sometimes they say just kickboxing.
Kickboxing, right? Yes, because people can relate. Yeah. I gotcha.
Right? But if you want to say an amazing striking program, it's just we want to label it with something that we think everybody knows.
No,
but everybody we know is the people who train in what we do. So if we said, hey, my grandmaster is so awesome, they're like, who now?
What does he do?
What do they do? It's like, isn't it really important that you carry a knife? I don't want to carry a knife. No. You learn blade. You learn blade because the other guy carries a blade. Right? It's not like I don't want to grapple. It's in case the other person grapples, what's in your arsenal. So it's not like I like boxing, so you should do boxing too.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah, I'm just thinking back then, like, again, man, if I had your model and your program and your articulation, man, I would have cleaned it.
Oh, man. Yeah. I marketed her. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's just that, like, it's so interesting what you brought up. Like you got me to basically articulate things I'm seeing now, but I didn't see back then, and all I really saw was, this is what I want to do. This is what I want. I'm sick of teaching this other stuff. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean?
People who come here from other styles are so impressed with the depth of the curriculum, but the only reason they are is because they did something else first, right? They're going to say, this is what I need to learn for 6 months. They come here, they're like, wow, that's a lot. I'm like, no, that's normal, right? So when they come here and they see that it's very sophisticated system, third world country, Philippines, it's very sophisticated. Why wouldn't the way we verbally articulate it be just as sophisticated to match that? Because if we talk oversimplistic about it, which simple is good, they're going to say, it's just that stick thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. No wonder why you guys are so successful. My God, Brian, anything?
I was just.
And then we'll get Kris.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
talk. She hasn't talked at all. So I'm gonna...
I was just going to say, because I've heard him several times over the years. He'd say that you, in having a successful business, you sell the person, you sell the product, and you sell the process. And if you're able to do all three of those greatly, you'll have a wonderful business. And I've just seen over the years how he's progressed. And it's not about just one thing. There's just more than that. So it was just, I've heard him talk for many years, talking to so many different people all over the world, all over the country, and I feel like I've learned so much, but I wish I can talk to like him even more. But
this is simple. Okay, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. Just make it really simple. I've heard the word business and I've heard the word sales and things like that. If you saw Spider-Man and you liked it, you'd probably convince somebody else to go watch it too.
I think
if you love FMA and you're passionate about it, you don't have to look up a course on how to sell it. You kind of just let people know how excited you are about it. That's why when you say, "Oh, this was an exciting program," I'm like, how do you write that in a brochure? Yeah. Or do you just let other people feel how excited you are about it? And they're like, you know, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, you know, I want to come down and try one of your self-defense classes, which is the Kali class," and I say, "Great, who are you coming with?" Why does it have to be one person? Why is this one thing that you're searching out and you would drive really far to find that one place? And why would you just go by yourself? Yeah. And it's because I'm giving them permission to come by myself. No, come with as many people as you want, because the party that we're throwing is the one that your friends don't want to miss. Wow. I don't want to be the school that they went to because it was convenient to go to. It was because it was the right one.
Yeah, I mean,
it costs money. Why would I want them to spend money on something that they didn't know they wanted? I want to fulfill something in there, which is why the curriculum would change. The curriculum changes because it has to speak to the person who's receiving it, not because I think something is cool. Tohan Apollo thinks it's cool. We are carrying forward, yes, the full breadth of what PTK is, of course. But what you got, and when you learned it, was probably because you were the one who needed it at that time. And we have to find out what our student needs as well, which is not always the physical, right? The community side, the trusting side of why we work with Tohan Apollo, and hopefully there are students that work with us. It was not like, it's because that style, you know, that t-shirt, I needed that was the uniform, right? Cobra Kai uniform was so cool. I got to join, right?
I am Cobra
Kai, right? I don't know if I would ever get Eagle fan. I don't know. I don't know if I can get.
How ironic! Cobra Kai keeps coming on.
That's what we did New Year's.
You know, Guru Tom Pena made a picture of me, Franco Cobra Kai Kali. It was hilarious. It just was. It was. All right, here's my next question. And Kris, if you want to tackle it first. Brian, you can even tackle it. I'll get all three of you guys. What as far as okay, we identified that you believe that you can run a successful school and you don't need to piggyback off an existing program and all that. And I'm not saying I don't disagree with you. I'm saying back in my time, I don't think I would have succeeded. You know, but obviously I don't have what you were offering today as far as the marketing and the sales pitch. And when I hate to say sales pitch, but you know, just some of the wording that you use and all that. Why don't we see today more schools, brick and mortar, more schools popping up without piggybacking off something? Is it because of fear of failure, or they don't know how to go about it? But what if they perhaps consulted with Tohan Apollo? I mean, what say you guys?
I'd have to say it's all of the above. I mean, I think that the information might not be out there, but it's something where if you're passionate enough, and he'll disagree with me, like if you're passionate enough, you will go ahead and find it. Like when he was younger, years ago, when we were kids, he would actually learn an exotic art and travel all over the country just to find something that he wanted. So you have to have that passion to be able to look for something. You'll eat, sleep, whatever you want to do. And that's how I found him for many years, was if you're passionate about something, you'll do it, you know, just without anything blocking your way. So that's how I've always seen him. But with Tuan Apollo also too, I've seen that mindset. They'd be on the phone for hours and hours and talking about martial arts. But every time I hear them speak, it was like as if they were having the same verbiage.
Well, here's a question. Take a guess at this. And I only know the answer to this because I had Guru, Datu, Tim Hartman, and a few other guys. And guess how many schools are in the United States, roughly, as far as I just do FMA, that are actual brick and mortar schools, not backyard. They're not affiliated with somewhere else. Guess how many?
No idea. I wouldn't even know how.
I think it was under 5. I think there was Dr. Tim's. There were the 2 other guests I had. One guest, it was questionable. I got to be honest because he had some other stuff going on. Dr. Tim didn't realize. Mark Makita. So I think, again, there could be more out there. You know, it's what we were able to identify. But I think 4, maybe. So my point is, what is going to propel, what is going to propel more people that will just open up FMA schools? And why is the growth so stunted or non-existent?
I'm going to give a really simple answer as far as I'm concerned. Be a martial arts school. Let them find out what martial art that is after the fact, because
maybe not even
you don't want to be at the mercy. How do most people find this school? I would actually say it's probably an internet thing, right? What did you say? My school, my website was a little on the broad side. It wasn't so niche, tiny. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to learn martial arts, most of them don't know what kind of martial arts yet. That comes from the experience. You had a great experience. Somebody could say, and I'm going to make this up, right? We have ABC martial art. That is literally the name of the system. Somebody has a bad experience with that one school. What happened now? The entire system got the reputation. No, that should never happen. That entire style got a reputation because one school did something maybe that they shouldn't have. So if each individual instructor stops saying I'm a Filipino martial arts instructor and just be like, I need to be a good instructor. I need to always be a student. I need to share with somebody else.
That's a whole nother
you understand what I'm saying? Because if you're going to say my style, my system, my logo, my window, my this, my that, then your school's just going to be you.
Yeah, me.
So, I don't think I don't think people are really like that for FMA. But if your actual question is why aren't more people in a brick and mortar? It's the chef that doesn't open up their restaurant. Why don't they do that, right? They have the training to do it.
Okay, so here's the next question, Kris or Brian. You guys jump in. What can we do to change status quo? Kris, what say you?
Well, for starters, this right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just getting more social media out there.
Which we try to do.
Driving it more and more each day and just having more of the word of mouth and getting it out there as much as possible. And it doesn't have to be the perfect martial artist. It could be any person out there. And, you know, the best martial artists are out there are not really the ones that even want to be a martial artist in the first place. It was just their consistency. They just never gave up. They call us martial artists the crazy ones because we never stopped training. But I just get it out there. It's just more word of mouth and more of social media and sharing it as much as possible, as much as we can uplift the art.
Brian, what say you? Why don't you think there are more brick and mortar FMA schools that just exclusively?
Because I think a lot of that's everybody wants to be a UFC fighter. MMA is like what sells. I mean, Muay Thai, any kind of grappling. It's just nobody, even like people like I've taught, like the small students I do have. It's like, oh, do you teach grappling? Do you teach like kicking, like kickboxing, kicking? And No, we teach like weapons here. We have like some empty hand stuff. Oh, well, you know, well, we're not going to do UFC stuff. Like, you know, like, no, you're not going to do any UFC stuff.
I have never heard that before. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not saying.
That's.
Well, you know, it goes on the regions too. Like, I live in New Mexico. This is it's not a very big state. El Paso, Texas is the closest state to us. They have a lot of MMA gyms over there. They have a couple of Filipino martial arts places over there that teach in addition to other things. But everybody, I think UFC and boxing, people see a lot of that on TV and
association.
Everybody wants to do. Nobody wants to do like the weapon stuff and like that. I mean, it's hard to bring people in to do that. At least in my experiences, once they see the weapon stuff, they automatically just want to go right into knife. Like, they don't want to learn anything else. They just want to learn like knife right away. And I think to maybe change it is like get some of the bigger names in this art to start like advertising some more, you know, like UFC.
But do you think if somebody did that, somebody would suddenly open up a brick and mortar business then?
What? I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
I said, I'm going by what you said. You're like, oh, you need a big name to do that. So if a big name person did it, someone tomorrow will suddenly get a brick and mortar business. I don't think so. I think there's something underlying to that. If we are students of our teachers, and they're like, he moves like this, he responds like this is what he does. But he doesn't have a school.
Yeah.
I adopt that too, subconsciously. So if we are modeling ourselves after our teachers or even people that we really respect that fight and train and this and that, if they don't have a school, why would we want to have a school?
Yeah.
If they had a school, we probably would have a school. So every BJJ student that went to a school and his instructor was a BJJ guy who had a school, their path naturally says, when I get really good, I'm probably going to have a BJJ school. But if our teacher's path was, I really didn't have a school, I taught a couple guys in the backyard and things like that, why would I have a school? That's not what they did. And that's on a subconscious level. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but if we really are role modeling, we're almost identically role modeling it.
Yeah, I think there's all valid. I think you guys all bring up valid points. I think there's fads.
Paulo Rubio, he left a good comment, and he said, honestly, the simple answer is FMA isn't that big. You're often caught up in this bubble vacuum and think it's bigger than it really is. FMA is tiny.
Right. So therefore, my solution for that, Guro Dean, is you're like, well, why aren't there more FMA schools? I'm like, no, open up a martial arts school. And what happens is when you have 200 students, those students find out they're doing FMA.
I think you're onto something with that. Like, don't even put like anything FMA related on the door. You know what I mean? Just say like, yeah, we teach martial arts. And then when again, I think that's as far as suggestions wise is all that. But what if we go a little deeper? Let's just say, I think there's also though the backyard mentality as far as what to charge. The whole business model FMA, I just think is nowhere to caught up. Like when I look at martial arts business models, I can't help but think of Taekwondo. I just think, you know, historically speaking, they have it down to a science. I think they're absolutely just very good at that and all that. I think FMA is kind of not. And I don't mean to throw you guys in this, but generally speaking, the backyard, or I sub rent, I'm subleasing from this person. You know, I come on there Wednesday night and I teach. You know what I mean? Like putting themselves constantly in the back. So I think the business model is flawed. I think what they want to charge or what they should charge is flawed. I think there's still that backyard, and I think some embrace it actually still, as opposed to getting out of that mindset, getting with the future of these other business models as far as, you know, different styles and what have you. Am I off or am I wrong, or what do you guys think?
Brian, for us, who did you want to?
Well, let's start with you.
I never got paid for privates in Taekwondo. I really didn't have much of a privates business in Muay Thai. I get paid pretty well for privates in FMA. So if your business, right? If your business is like being a personal trainer, and that's the thing, when you're a personal trainer, your fitness, nobody's asking you which organization of a fitness person you are. Are you a bodyweight person? You're just a fitness trainer that's teaching. And then you find out when you're training with that person, you're getting results. Hey, by the way, I happen to follow this line of nutrition,
that's a good
etc.
point.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
one thing that I learned is sometimes to examine ourselves, we have to look something outside of our industry first, right? So if I'm going to raise my hand and say my staff and myself are really good because we dedicate ourselves to constant education, and whatever we have, we give it to you. And then all of a sudden they're like, by the way, I happen to do this. That's how, when you see a fitness trainer, you go to the gym. By the way, it's just a gym. You don't even know which, it's a gym. Then they assign you an instructor. You're not like, well, which style and which organization. What
no, I get you.
That's not how it works. Yeah. So if we keep thinking about keeping pure our system, you can still teach it pure, but you don't have to make that the number one thing that everyone has to talk about, because it's not about the student anymore. It's about the style. So make it about the student, and all of a sudden you'll find yourself with a lot of students.
And they'll find
out about the style, then it's going to be like, well, it's only about the style. You're not good enough for the style.
I agree with you. No, Kris, what do you think?
I've heard him say that he likes to reverse engineer everything. So it always starts off with, okay, what do we want to find out from this person? Like piggybacking of everything that he had said. It's not about what we're doing. It's more like what we can do for you, and focusing on what their needs are, because everyone's different. So
what you notice is we're not talking about this. We're just talking about what we can do as a servant, right? We're a service business, but the real word is we're a servant. And if that's the most important thing, we will not keep banging people over the head. How come you didn't join my Kali system? No, it's like, was what I offered bad? Then we can go from there. I don't know if that makes any sense. And that makes us go to our own teachers and just be like, was I not supposed to stab them in the neck on their first day? Was that bad?
Was I not supposed to punyo him in?
Was that a bad idea? Because our school was one of the first Renzo Gracie academies in Northern Jersey. And I remember at one point, it was just like, you got to smash them on the first day to make sure that they get this is real. That's how you get them.
That's good. That's
how you get them.
Retention, right?
You got to smash them on the first day, right? And, maybe I'm getting older and things like that. If you look up a ton of YouTube videos about someone's Filipino martial art, is it only a whole bunch of, I can hit you better than somebody else? Or is anyone looking like they're having a good time? Is there something else of benefit that training in your academy and your system produces, other than people looking really mad and wanting to wear
that's got to go. You see what I mean, though? That's what I was alluding to. Like this old model, the backyard, where if this is going to grow, I'm caught on the fence with this, because I have a deep appreciation for the old generation. I really do. But if we're going to go forward and we're going to perpetuate this art that we so love, and we want schools to see schools open up, whether they call it martial arts in the beginning, and then when you're in there for 6 months, you actually find out you're doing FMA. I don't have an issue with that. But I totally agree with you. We have to have that mentality, like you just mentioned, this whole mean, dramatic faces, and come here and we will break every, we will teach you.
Did you see that promo with my wife, the video of her moving around a little bit? I don't know if you saw that. Guro, you saw that, right?
I sure did. Yeah.
At the end of the day, they'll know that there's something there, right? There's some context and substance, and at least I believe so. I think she's a wonderful practitioner and representation for female warrior, and bring forward the art. And then if someone saw that and came here and they're just like, they see how much she smiles and she laughs and she's welcoming and this and that, then you're really showing what it could be like when you're hanging out in the Philippines and they're like, hey, you know what? if you eat adobo with us, your jab will be faster. You know, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it. Like, I mean, like somebody mentioned here, and I totally agree with Robbie, my man, Washington. I don't want to see it be commercialized either,
Right.
Robbie. And yeah, no, Chad, there's absolutely nothing wrong with backyard. And Tim, yeah. What's that? I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. This conversation has been so great that usually I look over to the right to see if questions are coming in, but you guys have.
I think there's two things with what you're talking about. Like,
sure, go ahead.
They make it grow. I think a lot of things. I think you got to start adding the sport aspect of it, like, you know, knife sparring,
Olympics.
Sticks. That will attract a lot more people than just beating the shit out of each other with like 2 rattan sticks. And, you know, the sport aspect always attracts younger people in, and people I talk to too were like, oh, you know, that knife sparring stuff's kind of cool for getting points and stuff like that, because it's fun, you know. Not everything's about killing and, you know, cutting people's heads off, breaking their arms. You know, you got to make it more attractive to people, like this kind of aspect of it. The second part is, I think movies like John Wick and a lot of these other movies been coming out that are showing some of the Filipino martial arts stuff in there. I got a lot of people that come to me all the time, especially at work, because I work at a military base. There's a lot of military guys there. And they're like, oh, man, you do that stuff like John Wick, huh? I want to learn that, you know, I want to learn the stuff like that and movements like similar to that. And I'm like, well, you know, it's not just all Filipino martial arts. We see lots of other stuff too. But movies and like the sport aspect, I think that will really help it grow a lot better than just self-defense and the art, you know. And
I think that's fair.
From what I've gathered from people, input of people talking to me, on a daily basis, people always come up to me and ask me all the time, like, "Oh, you know, it looks cool. I want to do it just for a sports bar, you know, with the padding and everything." And you know, couples can do it. I mean, who doesn't want to stab the shit out of each other? You know, with like a fake knife, right? It's your points. Like,
Brian.
So Brian, if I hear you right, what you're saying is, if there was a sporting aspect, it would probably catapult it a little bit, right?
A little bit better. At least some people that I've talked to. A lot of people get intimidated by the other part, you know.
So here's a cool update. The last couple, there's actually a Taekwondo organization. The last couple of years, Tohana Paulo has been, you know, weapons director and encouraging the kids and the adults doing a combat stick sparring. They're a Taekwondo organization. They have more people doing the combat stick sparring in their Taekwondo tournaments than the Taekwondo. So from that aspect of an exposure, and they know that it's coming from the Kali side, even though their base was Taekwondo. It's heavy. You're talking about 1,100 schools in their tournaments that a stick sparring event has more people in it, because a lot of them just didn't want to get kicked in the head. I'll throw that out there. They thought the padded stick sparring, not live stick, the padded stick sparring, there was less injuries from a fact than someone getting kicked in the head, getting knocked out. You're talking about like 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, right? Nobody wants their kid getting neck kicked. Now, you have other organizations that, if you talk sports, like weightlifting, volleyball, tennis, karate, AAU. You've heard of the AAU? Amateur, the Amateur Athletic. I'm stealing your thunder now. The Amateur Athletic Union. It's a very large organization that leads into the president of the AAU had a conversation with Tohana Paulo, and Tohana Paulo is spearheading, and it is already approved to have Kali as an AAU sport.
Oh, awesome. Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Okay. So, yes, that is a wonderful platform and a device that a lot of people. Now, does that mean people that are not in Kali can compete in it? Yeah, it's a rule-based sport, but the organization that pushes it towards the Junior Olympics makes it a big deal platform, confirms it to be something that would be exciting as a spectator sport. The reason certain things in the Olympics are not there is because people don't want to tune into it. It's just not something that would get eyeballs. So if there are
people getting injured and that's understandable. I mean, right.
I mean, there's only so many people that want to watch curling, I guess, right? But if the example, and we don't know, right? It might not last. But if we feel like it could be something that's exciting, if it's something that, and here's the most important thing about schools, that organization that had it in their tournaments, they had a tremendous amount of children. So if if the majority of Americans played soccer only as an adult, they can't compete on a world stage. The second soccer became available for young kids, and they can go through that from a young stage, from an academy, you're going to have some amazing next generation Kali practitioners.
Absolutely.
So to implant that, not as wait till you're a 3rd-degree black belt in karate, then you can learn Kali, but you do it from a younger age. Watch how that expression and its art completely grow, where both of us would have really benefited if that school, that local school that everybody joins, the martial arts local school turned out to be a Kali school. And that's how a lot of it, right? The kids didn't choose it. A lot of times the parents chose it. Hey, guess what? You're going to karate next week. The kids sometimes did not have a say in that. Why? Well, because there was discipline and had that. Well, yeah. So if those are the benefits, not just the stabbing, not just the, right, you know, how militaristic can I make it? If the other cultural and social benefits of Kali are introduced, the excitement of what it looks like is why they came. The way they cultivate the student is why they stay and make that become a career martial artist, not the, I did piano when I was 5 and I quit when I was 6. That's the thing that we really could be doing for the art. And later on, they're going to say, hey, listen, I did Kali for 10 years. I just didn't, it's where my parents brought me to. Right. That could be really an interesting.
I agree with you. Somebody else just brought up a good, just want to make sure, man, these comments are just rifling in there. I'm like way behind. Bear with me here. Yeah, D. Crompton.
I'm way too far away. I will not be able to see any of those.
This is the guy I want to get on too, D. Crompton. If you want to come on, brother, let me know.
Shout out to D from Australia.
Arts, keep it smaller than Arts.
Hello, sir. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Shout outs to everyone.
Yeah, there's a ton of people. I mean, and I feel bad I wasn't being more attentive to looking on the right. I did find a couple of questions I missed, which I'm going to get to. But this is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so far. Hello, sir.
If I may add while you're researching, I just wanted to say what I found with not just with Kali is there's such a variety of how you can, I guess, deliver it. So with kids, sometimes they'll need something where it's just like a sport aspect. For teenagers, maybe they want something more combative. For the elderly, you may have something where you just need more rehabilitation. For the ground fighters, there's an aspect where you're training on the ground. For females, different sizes, it shows you how you can protect yourself and defend yourself in different ways. I like that it was not just one thing. It was not just the stick aspect. It was how it was being delivered, how it was being taught, and how fun it was at the same time. So even when any other kid comes in, we're not thinking of like, oh, this has to be just Kali. This is just martial arts. This is, and I'd ask him for years, like, what is your favorite martial art? And he would start off with just saying martial arts. In a way, it's just all kind of like the same thing. It's just how I want to deliver it, what I've learned over the years. His background had started with Filipino martial arts, and he's applied it to so many ways. But it's because I find that now, as I'm getting older, there's so much different aspects of Kali that I didn't know that it was already in there, which is pretty cool. Take, for instance, by day, I'm also a pediatric nurse. So when I'm working with patients, I'm also focusing on crossing the midline, so it stimulates the left side of their brain, which also helps with the elderly as well. So that helps them with being able to recollect everything, because sometimes that's one of the generations that they get older, they may need that extra rehabilitation. Just the movements of just stepping and squatting and squaring your body, that helps with just your joints as we get older. Even just the movements, as in our 20s and in our 30s, we may be moving different now in our 40s and up. That now I just realized, oh, I don't have to do this, but I have a little bit more tricks in the bag that I can utilize. So and I realized this is all just in Kali, which I didn't know that was all in there. So I like that it was all bundled up in a process, and being able to deliver it in a certain way that it's not just about one type of audience. It really is varied to such a variety of people that you can serve and help out.
Yeah, no, 100%. We got I agree. Everything you guys been saying tonight, I think is absolutely wonderful. I do got a question. This is Brian's question, and Brian wanted to know the ups and downs of being a husband and wife team.
Drum roll.
I'll
do the up part. She can do the
down part.
Have you seen the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith? I'm just kidding.
My wife said she was a nurse too. So
here's the thing: she's a pediatric vet nurse by day, and she's always here at night working with the kids, training with the adults. But what happens is I'm usually on one side of the room and she's in the other side of the room. We're in the academy almost never each other's partner, ever. So what happens is we have our own personal growth. I'm pretty big when siblings come here. I go, don't train your brother with your brothers. You can do that at home. You come here to get different bodies, different energies, things like that. So our exposure is to basically, having our own separate worlds. Now on the car ride home, I don't care who's driving with the wheel. Like somebody is attacking the other one all the time, right? She'll come home. I'll hide in the closet to come out. Apparently, she starts to figure out I'm hiding, so she like doesn't come in the room for 20 minutes just so that I can get a cramp because I'm trying to hide. So the good and the bad is outside of the school is actually when we do the most training with each other, because that's when we apply a lot of stuff. Right. And when I say apply, I say that with a grain of salt, because it's not like I'm really like tackling her down, but I'm just saying, what now? And it really kind of just gives our perspective that it's like, our training doesn't get left on the mat. Our training is everywhere. But when we do get together, what we share with each other, at least I'm going to say this part for her, the up part is like, hey, did you see what that person said? Did you see what that person did? I spoke to Tahan and he said that. So being a Kali couple allows us to share things together because that's a common denominator for us, right? I mean, we share, a lot of awesome things. Like we'll say, hey, listen, 90s hip hop, or as I like to call it, hip hop, right? I don't know what that other stuff is, right? But we have all those things in common. But when we can be able to share something that we learned individually separate from each other and bring it together, that's the coupling part. That's the Kali coupling part. That's where we get those, that's the two opposing parts of the magnet that comes together, is because of the things that happened separately. Okay. So, and when you were saying you could only, I don't know, you said there was less than 5 Kali schools nationally. We have 2. You're blessed. But here's the thing that we really want to tell each other. I'm like, you go to that one, I'll go to this one. Yeah. And that was mentored into us. And they're like, that's the way it should be, so that we could individually grow. And then when we come together, it's like, these are the things that we were able to build together.
We've actually known each other for 32 years now, which makes me 25 years old today. But we've always had that passion of martial arts since we were kids. And when we finally were able to just Voltron, it just made things a lot easier. That we already had that friendship, we already had that passion, and to just communicate with each other with our needs back and forth, it just made things a lot easier. So it was never about like, okay, mine's better than yours, yours is better than mine. It's more like we just were able to work with each other as best as possible. He would use me for demos. He would be doing the conversations. We find what our weaknesses and our strengths are. We have our pros and cons of what we are, but we still build each other up. And that's what really helped with our business. It was not about tearing each other down. It was about helping each other grow together in the art. And in the business. And I think that's shares with the same mindset of not just in martial arts, but out in the world as well, is how we can help each other out. And I think my biggest fan is him, and vice versa, because he always talks about me and I always talk about him. So the more and more we just build each other up, the more it just makes things a lot easier for us to work together.
No, I mean, I'm hearing it, seeing it. Yeah, it's pretty.
By the way, that's how you grow the college student population. Is like when I say you don't join by yourself. Why isn't the family joining? Why aren't the husbands and wives joining? I saw a couple names in here, and we're blessed that we have people that met each other at our academy, got married, had kids. Now their kids train at the academy and they're training colleagues. So when you say, how does that generationally work?
Yeah.
So it's dating / Cali? Like,
oh, yeah, there's an app for that. Yeah. You want Cali? Swipe right. No. But that's the simple invitation that this isn't a guy thing. I love the fact that we'll be at minimum 40% female at our academy. If not, there were plenty of times where we're 60% female.
All my students are female, except for one male.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, whether that was by design or not, I think by her being in the academy influences that. So again, it was with that intent to not make the bio about one person. We all train. We're all different sizes. You could be very, very young. You could, use it as therapy as you're older, right? Why is a carenza done very slowly and with an intent, not the next way that people are going to adopt Tai Chi into their exercise? Why couldn't that slow carenza just be a Kali method and let people run with that?
Yeah, no. I got a question from Joe. Go-to food. Go-to food.
Yes.
So what is your guys' go-to food?
Steak.
Yeah.
More steak. So I am a carnivore by heart.
Sounds like Brian's
She will challenge anyone in the internet. Yes.
I'm sorry, what was yours, Guro Ace?
Well, I mean, our first date was, I ordered salad and she looked at me and she's like, well, I'm having steak. And I'm like, I looked at her and she's like, no. And then what did you say?
I actually said, because, my steak was huge and he had just had salad. And I said, oh no, I love to eat steak. So I'm paying for dinner so I can eat whatever I want. You order whatever you want. I'm making sure I'm having this.
Yeah. I'm not going home hungry. That is funny, man. That is classic. I'm making sure I'm not going home hungry, so I don't care.
Ask the water and a salad, please.
But he does know, like, I don't have much jewelry. I don't, have a lot of clothes or anything. But it's food that I guess breaks.
The only thing around her neck is a neck knife.
Neck knife, and
right? That's
steak.
like, those are the types of things. But
and they go well together, steak and knives. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, food's my thing.
You made a video a while back where you're like eating peanut butter sandwich or something, and you were like playing with a groundnut or something. But it said something about, I had to eat for my train or something like that. It was pretty funny.
Just if you want a good time, just go to a Brazilian barbecue, watch her eat, and just watch. Just watch. And she'll just,
decimated, huh? Yeah. What favorite weapon to train? If you had to pick one weapon, I know you guys love all of them, but if you had to pick one weapon to train, or one that really speaks to you, motivates you, what the knife? Yeah, an argument.
Sure had it already.
How about you, Guro?
Kris, so
yeah.
He is.
Yeah, I really did get an appreciation for the blade, and in not even just the literal sense. Just you start looking at certain things from a blade smithing process. Like, what are all the components that would create that weapon? So you start thinking about how things have to get molded and struck and heated and folded and things like before you even know what to do with it. And then you say, wait a second, that before I can learn anything with that, the origin of something like that, And then, because the pure metal by itself, it will probably bend. It needs other elements to it. And then now you take it to who can wield it, because you put the blade on a table, it is completely useless. It does nothing. And it's kind of whoever holds it. So now we have to kind of take it to that level of like, we also create the sword to be worthy. The sword's not worthy by itself. Some people may argue in ideology, but I'm like, it's what you bring to it, because I could be a really evil person and I bring something to that blade, and I could bring something else to it, and I could, you know, create it where that becomes a legacy piece. So I think of it that way, as that weapon in that sense, outside of the literal side of it, because it does for me represent a lot of different things from a cultural side and so many things I don't know. So please help educate me, you guys that are watching, and allow me to know regionally how things, you know, had that as a creation.
Who is better at what?
I'm better at eating.
What is she better at?
What am I better at?
I think literally if you tell her to do something, she'll just be able to do it. And I've witnessed that. So for example, we will be on the mat, and I guess we'll talk in the sense of Kali, and Tohan will be like, do this now, now do this now, now do this now. And she won't overly process it. And I will literally say, because she has a servant mindset, she doesn't fight it.
I'm guilty of that, over processing.
She doesn't fight it, she just becomes a conduit for something like that. So she can materialize something based from a concept, because, you know, whether you consider that as a warrior, a soldier, or whatever, that she's like, she says that too. She's like, tell me what I have to do at the academy today. And she'll just be like, I'll do it. And she doesn't want to deviate. She's like, it's almost like, what's my mission? I got to complete that mission. That's what it is.
One of the definitions that he said over the years was the difference between discipline and self-discipline. Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do right away. So the key word is doing it right away. And self-discipline is doing something what you're supposed to do without being told. So when you have that mindset over and over again, you hear that over again, it's just do it right away. If your mom says, take out the garbage, take out the trash, you don't say, I'm just going to do it after I play my games. You know, you just do it right away, because that's discipline. That's doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I did get a couple questions in here. I just want to, Caesar, that was already answered in the beginning. So you have to watch in the beginning as far as the comparison to Muay Thai and all that. However, though, there was one I missed here. Do you use other techniques with Kali? You kind of already covered that. You guys are teaching, like, you guys teach Taekwondo in addition to Kali? Am I correct?
No. So here's an interesting thing. So we converted from being this Muay Thai and MMA and etc. based school, and we flipped it on its head, and we're primarily a Kali school. 95% of the classes are Kali, kids, adults, etc. We still have a Muay Thai class per se, but here's the thing: if somebody came in and we said, by the way, we have a striking class. Oh, by the way, it's called Santukan.
Santukan.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? And that's a great example. It's just like Muay Thai, Santukan. Would they have known the difference? And I'm not saying there's no difference. There is a difference. But what I'm saying is the person coming in would not have been able to identify, was that elbow a Muay Thai elbow? Was that elbow?
Right, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? So,
I do.
So if I went to someone and said, I want to learn self-defense, I said, well, you should come to this. And I'm famous for saying, why don't you come on Thursday at this time? I don't have to tell them what they're taking on Thursday. That's the instructor's invitation. Just like if you went to a gym and you're saying, I need a personal trainer. Awesome. We have Jimmy. Jimmy's available at 6:30. Can you come in at 6:30? You're coming in there with an empty cup saying, I don't even know what Jimmy's going to ask me. Is it a treadmill? Is it lifting weight? What is it that we're going to do? And you go through an assessment. And based upon the assessments, the response of that student, how they're picking up on that material, we are just as trained as a doctor. Yes, I said that. And why can't, as a doctor, we prescribe just like a trainer would prescribe nutrition to someone?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how something like that would play. And, you know, the interpretation of pad work and blade and everything with the empty hand and the Muay Thai and this and that, now it becomes semantics to a certain extent. Like, well, that came from that Kali system, not that Kali system. How about this system and that system? Are we confusing the student now, or are we just trying to make them better?
Okay. No, good answer. Got a, I just want to make sure, yeah, Caesar, some of the questions you're asking were already, yeah, just watch the beginning on that. How are you guys' marital disputes resolved? Like in only one?
There's this running joke where I usually sit on the right side of him. And so he said, since I'm always on the right, that means I'm always right.
Okay.
Happy wife. Happy life.
Trial by night.
But jokes aside, it's I don't know, we just communicate with each other. We still, honestly, we pray a lot. We actually pray when we eat dinner. We prayed before we got on this, and it's not about us. It's about serving him. And I think that when we center him more, God more in our lives, that's what brings us together. That's what made it more strong. I think even when we started going to church even more and learning more about it, I think our business even grew even better that way, because we saw it in a different aspect of, it's not about us. It's about,
it wasn't about a business. That's really what it was. You know, it's our family just got bigger. How about that? Yeah. Right? It's our family got bigger.
Okay. No, that's awesome. And we got D. Compton, happy wife, no knife. Yeah. Can't argue that. And D. Compton, yes, your name came up about being interviewed. So if that's of interest, please message me. And FMA code, Joe, there, I got your question. They answered it. Hopefully you heard it. Guru Kris was steak. And what was it for you? I'm sorry, Guru Ace, what was yours?
You didn't answer.
What was my, I'm sorry.
The go-to food.
Oh, my go-to food. Well, if we're speaking Filipino food, people know I like a dish called dinigawan. If you don't know what dinigawan, I
definitely don't. So
yes, that means there's more for me.
It's chocolate meat.
There's if people don't like dinigawan, there's more for me. But I will never turn down kare-kare.
And that is
kare-kare is it's oxtail. Some people
string beans, eggplant,
but it's in a peanut sauce. Delicious. So it's one of the few things that
kare and peanut sauce.
And what was the one you mentioned before that?
Dinigawan. It's like a blood pudding.
Dinigawan. Yes.
And what is that?
You'll like it, Guru. I'll give it to you.
Let's just
make you some when you get here.
Let's have the comments section blow up a little bit. Let's just do it that way.
Okay, I'll find out then. I'm sure. Okay, Joe will probably.
Yes,
I'm sure Joe will educate me. Here's a good. Okay, here's a. All right, somebody already did. Pork blood stew. Okay. Chocolate meat. Okay, Robbie. My man Robbie from Washington. I think that's a cool cat.
I think traditionally, before you answer, we tell you to eat it, then we tell you what it is.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
I didn't even actually say it.
Robbie's asking, how much sparring do you incorporate in your curriculum?
So 3 months in, it's basically a requirement here. They're like, go get your padded stick. So whatever happened in your first 3 months, let's think of it this way. Why do 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, throw techniques and drills, then new techniques, then drills, and new techniques and drills, and not find out if the first ones even work?
No argument with me. Yeah. No argument here.
Now, there's one more aspect. If after 3 months, you give them their padded stick and they start playing with the stick, et cetera, and no evidence of them using that, then we have to go back and questions like, how come you're not using all these things that supposedly you rep, and it calls people out a little bit and be like, I really wasn't repping that much, because I can't watch them rep it. So it's same thing with Muay Thai, right? And you're like, man, I just spent 3 months doing leg kick, right? And then come sparring, they never throw a leg kick. Well, now let's do clinch. No. What is it? What happened with the leg kick? Was there something psychological?
Yeah.
So that's built into the curriculum. That why bother going into more different tech, if you want to use.
No, I know why you keep piling on when they didn't even get a chance to functionalize. No, right. I totally agree with you. That's it.
Footwork would be the most important thing as an example. Yeah. They're like, as much as we input footwork, if the second you start sparring for a couple seconds and you just stand still,
and they're not moving,
right? And they're not moving, they're like, okay, what did I do wrong? It's not the student's fault. What did I do as an instructor?
Yeah, like where did I miss? What happened? Where was the miss? I got you. What pad sticks, Joe? What pad sticks do you guys use? Action Flex?
It's a variation of the Action Flex. Tohan has a line called Contra, saying like it's counter. But because Action Flex has so many different variations within it, like kendo style, two-handed style, single style.
And then you got the hit series, the blue ones.
Yes, don't use the blue one. That hurts. I think it's literally like the hit series. That's good. Yeah, don't use those with the 6-year-olds. You need a really good waiver with that one. But there's a contra stick that we actually use, padded stick, and again, because of the AAU and how we're regulating that.
Okay. Is it similar to the plain? I say plain, but the entry model Action Flex, the red and black ones.
Yes, but you have to remember there's models for kids and models for adults too, and without getting too much into engineering, because that's not my forte.
Yeah.
The very end has a little bit of a gap to it. That way you don't just conk the very end. Unfortunately, for thrusting, it's a little bit safer because everybody's had that broken PVC and had it jammed.
When they get really, and I know you're exactly mean, when their stitching starts coming apart or start breaking their foam, and then you got that hard plastic at the end. No, that's
I'm Filipino. I have every broken. I will not throw that out. Give me some electric tape. I'll still use it.
Yeah. We all got like taped up stuff.
Filipino.
Brian, did you have anything?
Huh? Oh, I was just listening.
But this has been. Could you believe it's 2 hours? This is how fast and just such a great interview this was. Like when the time just goes by and you're like not even aware of it. We've been on for like 2 hours. I definitely would love to bring you guys back. And here's my idea. If it wouldn't be too much trouble on your guys' end, and that would be one of you can talk while the other one is kind of teaching the class, so folks could actually see the dynamic in like what you guys do. If I don't know if that's of interest, but we could alternate. One's talking, and you guys could shift and all that, but definitely, but also not only interview you, but you guys can actually describe what's going on in the class setting and then take us through it, walk us through what you guys are doing. Is that of interest?
That is, yeah. And that is awesome. We could definitely do that. Have one person in the office kind of offset, somebody's on the mat, and then kind of switch. All right,
let's.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
No, let's make it happen. I'm writing it down right now. Realistically, I probably get squeezed in February. We'll call it
Valentine's
part two with the power couple.
We have a lot of females in February. That's our Valentine's Day theme.
Yeah, we're trying to get a lot of females in February. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Very cool.
Well, consider this a done deal. You guys coming back on. So
thank you so much,
Thank you, sir.
But absolutely. I really appreciate you guys doing this. This has been absolutely wonderful. So what I do is this is kind of new territory for us. We're running live in conjunction with YouTube now. So I have to kind of just see the download and all that. I'm going to figure that out tonight. But needless to say, there will be something that will be posted to your wall as far as a download, and it'll be from YouTube. So, but I'm good. This is just by the comments alone. I mean, this was a great show. This is you guys, knocked it out of the park, both of you. So I thank you both for just being so candid and, you know, about the model. I think I'm hoping folks that watch this, they will get maybe some inclination or drive or motivation to maybe consider opening up FMA school based on what they heard from you, you know? So I'm hoping.
How does the public trust FMA is when they actually see more of it. I think when something's very, yeah,
Can't argue that,
right?
yeah.
If you could have like this really cool new gadget, and if the gadget is not seen anywhere and no one's using it, the social proof alone of having more martial arts schools makes the public believe in Filipino martial arts schools. That is the definition of social proof. So
I can't argue that. Yeah. Brian, any closing thoughts on your end?
No, it was a real good interview. Like we hit like pretty much all the different things you wanted to talk about. I want to thank both of you for coming on for sure. Look forward to seeing the class and some demos.
I think it'd be fantastic. Get a live view of them. What they do.
Some throwing people around, you know, and maybe even a steak dinner in there.
Yes.
A steak barbecue or something. You guys can barbecue and bring some stuff.
It'll be awesome. Guro Ace will be talking, and you'll see Kris in the background.
No, she could be eating steak.
Exactly.
You can switch around.
You got it.
There you go.
What you doing back there? I don't want to know. No. What you so, all right, but again, all right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
You know,
for having
thank you for
us.
agreeing to come back on. I'm looking forward to that. You know, so definitely. But you folks, take care. You have a great, you know, what's of the new year, and looks like we'll be talking again in February.
Wonderful. Looking forward to
100%.
it.
Gurudeen, one before we leave, I just want to thank all the people that are showing up right now.
Yeah, there were
I
a lot.
really can't see every little comment in there.
There was a
You know,
ton.
we appreciate you
keep up
so
with them.
much, and if you weren't
Oh.
able to see it and you're seeing this on a replay, please let us know that you're watching it on a
Yeah,
on
there
a
was
replay. That'd be great.
there
Thank you,
was a
everyone.
ton. I couldn't even keep up with them, and usually I'm attentive.
Someone said a tomahawk steak as a weapon.
Yeah.
You could use big ass bones in there, chopping in there.
But yeah, I could tell you the comments are nothing but positive. So just consider you guys did one of the best interviews thus far on here,
Oh, thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
and that's not said out
Thank you.
of exaggeration. I mean that's truth. So but yeah, so we'll definitely be seeing you guys again in February, and you know I'll be in touch obviously, and we'll do that. But you guys have a good night and you take care.
Yep, have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Wow, man. They killed it. You know? They killed it.
I wanted to say one thing before we end the raffle. And also, too, I want to get some feedback from everybody. How everybody likes a new thing we're trying to add here with the introduction and with the video and the music, with the news segment we're about to do. I think get some positive feedback from everybody because you guys are what makes the show as well. The audience, if we, when you get that feedback from you guys, improve and become better. So positive, constructive criticism, guys. No negative stuff.
Yeah. And please, if you're watching, if you've not subscribed to FMA Discussion on YouTube, please do. All the money that we receive, some of you, I'm sure a lot of you know that have watched us before, we give it all to charity. We don't keep anything. So the more subscribers we get and the more views on the episodes, that means that generates more money for us to give to people to help. So none of us get anything from doing this, nothing. And so look at it as that you're helping people, because again, we donate everything, to charity. And there is a raffle that's coming up this Sunday, and I forget what it's for. Anyway, is heading it, but it's this Sunday. Some really good prizes and all that, and the money is going. Oh, I'm sorry, money's going to Red Cross over in the Philippines.
The typhoon.
Yeah, so the typhoon, all the victims there. So we're gonna do what we can to help. So it's going over there. Everything, anything will help. So again, folks, those of you watching tonight, I appreciate it. From me and Brian, and we'll see you. Who is next? Who is next?
Everything tomorrow, or is it Saturday?
No, I might do one Friday. I'm going to try to get a theme episode going Friday, but after that, I'm going to have to look.
Saturday. GM Lewis from Punata, FMA.
That's in the Philippines. Yeah, right. Okay, good.
Southern Philippines. Saturday with me and Guro Tom.
Awesome. But all right, we're gonna be heading out. I appreciate it, folks, and we will see you if not Friday night. You can check out Guro Tom and Brian Saturday morning, and we'll go from there. All right, folks. Good night, and take care. Brian, thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
guys.
Absolutely.